The Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG has a really big problem, and oddly enough, from what I can tell, there's only one Yugi tuber actually talking about it. Shoutouts to Ruxin34, met him last year right here in Charlotte for the first YCS post-pandemic, and he's about the nicest guy you could ever imagine. He's also the only person talking about an issue of growing concern that I feel like needs to be discussed and more importantly addressed. This might sound like a first world problem, but that issue is simply put too much Yu-Gi-Oh product. There's no other way to slice it. Right now it feels like we're getting absolutely avalanched with too many sets in this game, and like there's a new product to buy every other week. This is something that Ruxin noticed and talked about a couple of months back in a video he titled Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a Big Problem. The video got a ton of traction, and when I first came across it, I was highly skeptical. Honestly, I thought it was just a standard Yu-Gi-Tuber clickbait. But then I thought, Ruxin isn't really known for that, so let's give it a watch. As I watched the video, Ruxin made excellent points about how he, a Yu-Gi-Tuber who does this for a living, was caught completely off guard by a new set being released, how most of the sets released this year are selling way under MSRP, which is an absolute detriment to stores that have to buy and sell Yu-Gi-Oh! Product to stay in business, and how some vendors have actually even stopped selling Yu-Gi-Oh! Products altogether because of Konami's poor business model for vendors, as they spam new product after new product in such a short window that basically nobody can keep up. For me, this problem became completely evident over the past weekend into Monday as I attended YCS Richmond. I'm someone who rarely jumps headfirst into a brand new set and usually likes to wait a week or maybe 10 days for things to settle and cool off before I start buying products. So I guess you can say I'm always a little late to the party, but nothing too crazy in my opinion, like waiting months after a new product releases. Richmond was going to be the first event where I played the new meta cards I had gotten from Age of Overlord, SP Little Knight and Superstar Slayer Typhon. For me, these cards still felt really new. After all, YCS Indy, which was the first YCS post-Agave, had only taken place 2 weeks prior to this. Now, before I even had a chance to play my Agave cards at a premiere event, which by the way included a $100 meta staple, there was already another full 80 card booster set and the 25th anniversary rarity collection being released. You know, the set that's really like 500 cards because each card comes in 7 different rarities. Make no mistake, I have no issue with the rarity collection as a set. It's great for new players, it's great for people who want max rarity meta cards, it's great for people like me who want to collect a certain card like Golden Lord in every rarity. It sells well, makes the stores and the distributors happy. Honestly, it's just a win for everyone. But releasing it just 2 weeks after one of the best core booster sets of the year is pretty ridiculous in my opinion, especially considering nothing like the rarity collection had ever happened in the TCG's history. This was truly one of the most anticipated sets of all time, up there with the original Gold series that mass released Crush Card Virus in 2008. Staying true to my nature, I didn't pre-order rarity collection or buy any in Richmond. Instead, I wanted to wait for things to bottom out and start picking up stuff midweek after the event. So maybe around Wednesday, November 8th, which for the record wasn't even a full week after the set officially released on Thursday before the YCS, which was November 3rd. The days leading up to Richmond and all through that weekend, the rarity collection hype was insane, with social media being filled with posts and pictures of people's pulls, Yugi-tubers having box openings upon box opening videos, and me actually getting a chance to see the cards up close and personal at the YCS. But, and this is where the problem really hit home for me, as I stopped in Raleigh, which was the city that hosted Natch, to get some lunch on my way home on Monday afternoon, I opened up YouTube and what did I find? Yugi-tubers already doing sponsored box openings for Valiant Smashers, yet another brand new booster set being released just 2 weeks after the rarity collection. If that wasn't bad enough, the very next day on Tuesday, Konami was on Twitter promoting the Structure Deck Fire Kings, which again is yet another new product that's releasing in a 2-week window. Some watching this video might not understand the point that I'm conveying here, but to paint a more clear picture, just understand that in a single 30-day period, so just a month, Konami is releasing a core booster set, a deck building pack, and a generational once-in-a-quarter century collection set. My question once again is, how is anyone supposed to keep up? Much like Ruxin, I'm a Yugi-tuber who does this for a living, and I certainly can't. Time to put this into perspective. Let's say that you bought a couple of boxes of Agave because you wanted to get an SP Little Knights and maybe some Horus stuff or Diabella Star cards. Then just 2 weeks later, you bought a couple of boxes of Rarity Collection because you gotta get those CR talents and imperms for your deck, and you might want some niche cards that you fancy like Ulti Lava Golems and Small Worlds. Now just a couple of weeks after that, Konami's like, hey, forget your Agave deck, ain't nobody got time for that. We need you to go out and buy these boxes of Valiant Smashers so that you can play Centurion. You guys starting to get the point now? When I was younger, my mom had a saying that she would use basically anytime I asked her to buy something and she didn't want to buy it. She'd say, baby, I'm not made out of money. Konami, I'm not made out of money, and I'm not finna be spending $200 to $300 every week because you guys are dropping sets every 10 days. It's just too much. It's too many products with not enough time in between, to the point where it feels like each set barely gets any time to breathe. A set is out for maybe a week and we're already 7 days from something brand new and completely different that they expect us to spend our money on. Rarity Collection, for example, was probably something so gigantic it could have carried an entire month by itself, as players hunted to get specific rarities of the cards that they wanted, let alone getting playsets of these cards. Just ask yourself, did we really need Valiant Smashers crammed in at the very end of this year? Would we have died if this set was pushed back to maybe March? Because the TCG has received 2 deck building packs already this year in Amazing Defenders and Wild Survivors. Furthermore, the Wild Survivor themes just got their second wave of support 2 weeks ago in Agave, so they've barely been fleshed out, and yet we're already pushing something else. I know a big topic this year has been about how poor the resale value on sets has been. Ruxin covers this in his video, so I strongly suggest that you watch both of them, which of course will be linked in the description below. I could be wrong, but I don't think that this is happening so much because the sets are just god awful. I think this is also happening because we're just flooded with sets, and by the time a set is just a couple of weeks old, it's like, oh well, who cares about that old thing? They're dropping another new set on Thursday. Unlike other games, there's rarely a reason for a player to buy a set that's just 3 weeks old in Yu-Gi-Oh, despite whether the set is good or not, so of course the price is going to plummet. I could be completely wrong here, but it's just my opinion that something like Duelist Nexus, for example, was a fine set. It had 5D's anime cards, the legacy support for Unchained and Infernoble made those decks a multi-YCS winner and arguably good enough to win a YCS, and even the less successful stuff like the Ultrageist cards have made it regional top 8 viable. However, the set isn't always looked at very fondly because the price on it is just absolutely pitiful. I think the most obvious and practical solutions to this would be to simply release less product and give each set a little more time to materialize. As mentioned earlier, we're about to have our 3rd deck building pack in 2023. How about moving that to 2 a year? Honestly, I'd even be fine with 1 less core set a year and having 3 core sets, 1 every 4 months. People might hate this idea, but I'd also completely disband the Legendary Duelist series. The past few entries have been objectively abysmal, and usually only 1 of the 3 supported archetypes becomes quote-unquote playable with the new support. 2 of the 3 themes are often super niche and have small fan bases, and overall these sets usually only contain 1 or 2 cards that non-fans want anyways. I think that honestly they've just run their course, and that Konami could easily keep supporting these niche anime archetypes but add those into the core sets and other side sets, which they've already done in the past with the Earth set that never got released in the TCG. I can in good conscience speak on this from the perspective of like the distributors or your local OTS stores because it's not really my area of expertise like the Market Watch channel, so I'll just save that for Ruxin. But in my opinion, releasing essentially 3 sets per rolling 30-day period is absolutely ludicrous. Players can't keep up, your sets end up cannibalizing each other, and really just having their hype windows decimated. It's bad for stores, it's bad for vendors, and probably is just going to lead to crappier products because, you know, Konami R&D feels rushed to just push out more. I think the reason that you're probably only hearing 1 Yugi-tuber talk about this in Ruxin is that you have a lot of Yugi-tubers who vend and, you know, they don't really care. They just want to sell their stuff to you and they just want to make a profit, while you also have a bunch of other Yugi-tubers who are now sponsored by Konami, so they can't say anything negative about the game, otherwise they'll end up on the CMO do not work list. But I actually do think that this is a legitimate problem and one that deserves to be talked about, even if it's just going to be a couple of Yugi-tubers talking about it. But maybe you guys feel different, maybe some of you guys agree, maybe you guys feel like you are being a little flooded with product. You guys leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching as always.